Well, hi, Jamie. Good morning. How you going?
Doing well, thanks, Josephine. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm so happy to have you.
Nailed it.
Kritharas. It's a really fantastic Greek name, and I love my Greek community in Melbourne. My partner's Greek. And so, Jamie, I'm really looking forward to this conversation because you have had such an interesting life and you're a young man, and I love that. You've done so much already, but I'm particularly interested because you spent a lot of time as a DJ, and I have a performing arts background too, and I know how that experience can really transfer to the business environment, but not everybody makes that leap. So can you start by just giving me a sense of what your DJ life was like, and then how did you make that transition?
Yeah, it was a really interesting sort of start to my life, right? Because I started DJing at around 17 years old, and I did it for 10 years. It was a good 10-year chunk of my life, and I was pretty blessed. I definitely wasn't the biggest DJ in Australia or nothing like that at all, but I did quite well. I toured the world. I toured all throughout Asia. And one of the things that I'm most proud about is the support that I got along the way from some of my idols. And it just gave me such a boost at a young age to like be this little kid in my bedroom, dreaming of one day playing on these festival stages alongside these people, to all of a sudden being at the festival, actually playing alongside them and watching them play my records that are signed to their labels. So, yeah, if anyone that's in the sort of into electronic music, Afrojack, Hardwell, Tiesto, Calvin Harris, Martin Garrix, all of these kind of artists were all supporting my music back then. Yeah, it was a great phase of my life, touring the world, spending a lot of time in hotels and on planes. But like I said, the biggest thing that I took away from it was just backing myself at a young age and going against the grain and being defiant at a young age. When the typical sort of parents, they want you to go to uni, do the safe job, play the safe route, which I did as well. I went to uni, graduated as a property valuer, was in there for 2 months and 29 days. And one day before the probation period, I put in my notice and I left the next day, and I never
Amazing.
returned. I've never worked
Not for
again.
you.
So, yeah, no, it was good. It was great. But basically towards the end there of my music career, I really wanted something that was a little bit less art and a bit more business, right? Something that I could actually scale and, build a proper team and do business. I wanted to do business. I just had this itch to do it, and I was doing it through music, but that's where I just thought, let me look at what skills I have that are transferable. I have creativity, and I know how to read a room, right? Because I had to. That was my job, literally. And I don't know. I just kind of fell into the agency space after that, and yeah, here we are 6 years later.
Amazing. And your business grew really quickly in the first 12 months. I think I've read that it went from 0 to 2 million. And sometimes you hear that and you think, is that real? But I think for you, it was real. Was that a bit of a shock to the system? Because that's huge growth in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, and I wanna make it clear too, because a lot of gurus out there, they're putting all these massive revenues. That's revenue, right? Revenue is very different to profit. Like, we didn't
Yes.
make $2 million and put it in our pockets and run for the hills in the first 12 months. We made $2 million in revenue, but the story that I tell, if people have watched some of my other podcasts, is a lot of that was reinvested back into the business. Actually,
Of
almost
course.
all of it was reinvested back into the business on staff. We didn't even pay ourselves wages in the first year, right? In marketing, in everything. So I just want to add that little grain of salt to it, so that entrepreneurs understand that that's what it's like. That's the reality in the start. You need to reinvest basically everything back in. And I think that was probably one of the ways that we were able to move so fast. Is we were good at selling, we made the money, but then we paid expert people to deliver the service because we didn't know how to deliver it at an expert level. So we were collecting the money, giving it to professionals, but the key thing was we were watching and documenting every little step that they were taking along the way, so that we knew this is a good execution of Facebook ads. This is a good way to execute
Right.
creative. This is a good way to execute web development, web design. And it was like an accelerated MBA is how I would
Amazing.
say it. Yeah.
So that's important. So you were really tracking and monitoring all the way through. Did you use a particular system or systems for that, or was it just through talking to people that were in your team? What was the way you were? Because I think tracking and monitoring is crucial, really crucial.
Yeah. So again, never really being in like corporate land. Like I spent just under 3 months working for Jones Lang LaSalle, which was quite a big company, but I'd never been in corporate land. So systems, processes, SOPs, like I had to look up what is an SOP, what is that? And yeah, just any form of tracking. Look, at the start, it definitely was not. It was very sort of Google Docs and spreadsheets here and there, and then we slowly moved into like Trello, and then we moved into Asana. Now we're on ClickUp, and we have all sorts of tools in the business to track absolutely everything. And you are right. When we started tracking things and measuring things and holding people accountable, that's when the business really took a leap and started to get very efficient. And that's when we truly started to become really, really good at what we do with our in-house team. Right. Before that, it was just kind of just move, like sales there, just make the sale do the work, make the sale do the work. And it was not like, even if a client was leaving, like we weren't really tracking why, or if a team member was leaving, we weren't doing an exit interview. There's so many things that we weren't doing just because of, we were naive. But yeah, you can only improve something if you're tracking and measuring it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I think you're being a bit hard on yourself when you say naive. I think part of that is also when you're busy, those things tend to be the last things you think about. But I'm with you. I think particularly for CEOs, entrepreneurs, it's the first thing you should be looking at. The feedback systems, they're like your lifeblood. And particularly people that leave you, they can tell you a lot. Why are they leaving you, whether it's customers or people? I totally agree. I think that's spot on.
100%. And look, at the start, I guess, we did it our way. And looking back on it in hindsight, I think it was the right way because at the same time, like, yeah, we weren't the most organized and systemized, but we were learning as we were doing. And I think that's where a lot of people that I speak to that are trying to start up a business, sometimes they do get a bit caught up in the let me make sure everything's perfectly organized before I take action. So, I think it's important to balance those things. But yeah, it worked for us in the end, and I'm glad now that we're organized because it's a whole different beast now. And without that tracking, it'd be an absolute nightmare.
And where was the moment where you thought, okay, this is actually going to work? Was there like a pivot or tipping point for you?
Yeah, there actually was. I think it was when we got our first case study from Christian Avant. He's actually the founder of Milky Lane, and at the time that was huge for us. I remember being there, filming him talking about the results we were getting from Milky Lane, and I was just like, "This is it." Like as soon as we put this out, things are going to go well for us, and that is exactly what happened. It went really well from that point onwards, and then we just started collecting these testimonials and case studies as a like they were just like collector's items. Every time we did good work, we'd film it. We'd get the customer to say something and tell other people about how good we are, and then that just started to snowball. And yeah, that really was the moment where, for the first time, I'm like, okay, we have some credibility now. Like we can't be ignored now. So yeah, and still to this day, that ad's still running. Christian, if he ever listens to this, probably a bit annoyed with me now because how many people probably hit him up, but great testimonial, great results. So why not talk about it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we live in a world of that, don't we? We live in a world of reviews by other people. They can make you or break you, and a video testimonial is really, I think, really powerful. Easy to do, right? Even if you do it on your phone, it's easy to get that.
Yeah, very easy. I mean, back then we got content creators out to go and film it professionally, and that was a good move. But yeah, we even have some from some even bigger brands than Milky Lane that are literally just the founder talking about their experience with us on the phone, and it's done so well for us because it's just that trust that people want to hear from other people, and that's just the way we are as human beings. We trust, in some cases, we trust other people's opinions more than our own. So
We do.
it's
We
an
do.
important thing to have for any business, not just agencies, any type of business, even if you're selling products. One of the first things that people go to is your reviews. So yeah, that there, I encourage any business owner to really focus, even incentivize that with your customers to do that for you. Like, hey, share your experience, we'll give you X. It's
Yeah.
just such a great tool.
Yeah, it is. And for you, I think what you're saying too is having the right people. So those people with expertise in the areas that maybe you were lacking, or the gaps you just identified. And I think you actually had a really big remote team and still do have a big
Yes.
remote team. What's your approach to really keeping good people, finding and keeping good people? Because I find a lot of leaders particularly complain to me about not being able to find people, firstly, and then not being able to keep good people. And I think that there are things that I always say, well, what are you doing? Because there are good people out there, so there's something you're doing. So tell us, what were the the hacks for you? What were the intuitive things, and what are the things you learned?
That's a great point. And what I will say is this: I've basically delegated everything in my business to someone else except for recruitment. So that is the one thing that I am so involved with still day to day. I'm doing first calls with people. I've got tests that I send to people. There's so many processes which we'll go into in a second. But the most important thing is that I realized pretty early in the journey that people are my product. I don't have a product to sell. I can't ship you this product. My product is the people that I have in the crew that are delivering the service to my clients. That needs to be rock solid. And if I have good people, they will take care of my clients. So I realized that quite early, and that was a hack. Just that alone, just that
Mhm.
mindset was a hack, because I think a lot of people just be quick to pass that off to someone else. Like, hey, just go find the people, go find the talent. You do the interviews. I don't have time for that. But if you get that right, everything else falls into place. The second thing is finding the people, like you said. How do you actually find these A players? Well, we have ads for every role that we for the key roles that we are always growing in and needing to expand in. We have ads on 365 days a year, right? Whether we have a role available or not,
Right.
we have ads on, right? And I look at it the same way as like a high performing soccer coach would look at his team, in regards to, you've got your players that take to the field, your key players, your core team every day that are taking to the field, and then you've got a bench, right? And the people on the bench are just as good as the people on the field. And what that does is it kind of creates this, like, uh, how to explain it? The people who are on the field, they want to perform. And my version of this is that I always have, for every role, and the team know this, we always have a few candidates that are ready to jump in at any time if
Interesting.
someone isn't a fit for us, or if someone leaves, or whatever the case may be. And they've seen that. When someone's left, next day there's someone in there. They understand that.
So you have that continuity. Yeah.
It's, yeah, the business goes on. We must move forward. It's a shame to lose people, but we must move forward. And there is always someone on the bench that wants to join. And I'm having these conversations. I'm having coffee with people. I'm headhunting people. I'm speaking to people every single day that I feel would be a great fit for the business. And that is never an issue in our business, and the team knows it. And I think they respect it as well. The team definitely respect that, especially because there's no disruptions ever. Like, someone leaves, there's someone in, and they're like, wow, okay, we're
It's
good.
amazing.
It's not like we've got to pass all that work onto someone else. So yeah, finding people is just a matter of having that bench warm at all times. I do have ads all the time, but I also leverage recruiters as well for the same roles. And I'm very transparent with my recruiters about that. And yeah, I just try to attack it from every angle. And when we find someone as well, we put them through tests. So we have different tests for different roles. And I just
Tell me about
send
your
them.
tests. I mean, I'm keen to hear about that.
Okay, yeah. Basically, let's say it's a creative role. Let's say it's a designer, right? I'll basically just give them like a test brief, and I'll say, hey, this is a brief. This is an everyday brief in Defiant. It's just a test dummy brief. And usually I'll use our agency as an example. Here you go. Here's the brief. Here's the information. Go for it. No timeline. Whenever you want to get it back to me, you get it back to me. Right. And what I look for is, first of all, do they get it back to me? Second of all, how quickly? And they always ask, what's the timeline? I say, no timeline. The best hires I've ever made, naturally, are the people who get it back to me in 2 days, 1 day, right? They just take initiative. I've had people deliver it to me same day, and they are some of our best employees.
Mm-mm.
So the test, I think, is just first of all, it's a great thing to send to a candidate to see, are they actually this keen on the role to go through and participate in that test? That's a big tick if they do that, right? Everyone's busy too. So the second point is about how quickly they deliver it. I understand people are busy, so I do give them a bit of leeway. But like I said, the people who show that initiative and get on it, they are the people who, again, they're just showing you how much they want the role. And then, of course, the most obvious one is just how well they deliver the task. Like if that's a task that you're doing every day and they smash it out of the park, well, you're going to feel very confident that they're going to step in and just slot straight into the role.
Jamie, you run a remote team, so you don't have a physical, location. What have you learnt about running a remote team? Because I know a lot of people struggle with hybrid, remote.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, you will never replicate the sort of face to face connection in an office. You won't, right? No matter how much you try with remote, it's just not going to happen. However, I assessed it and I was like, the benefits outweigh the negatives. The benefits of remote outweigh the negatives, right? First of all, my talent pool went from people who want to travel into the city every single day, which is like a talent pool like that. And at the time I was competing, we were small, right? We were smaller agencies. I was competing with the other agencies that could pay 10, 20, 30, 40 grand more for the same exact role. And they were just, even if I was identifying a talent and bringing someone on and giving them all the training, 6 months later, someone would tap them on the shoulder, give them 10 grand more and they jump ship, right? That's just how it was. It's cutthroat. As soon as I went remote though, all of a sudden I realized, wow, my talent pool is now all of Australia, right? And there are super talented people everywhere, all over the place. The other great thing that I sort of rode the wave on is because everyone got a taste of remote with COVID, they wanted remote, right?
Yes,
They didn't want to travel into, a lot of people didn't want to travel into the city.
they still don't.
They still don't, right? So I was like, okay, let me ride this wave. Like I increased my talent pool. I'm giving people what they want. It's like a benefit to them. And yeah, like it just worked out so much better. The other thing was we also increased the average age of our employees from, I think it was about like 21 or 22 at the time, to like 29 or close to 30 now it probably is. That was another thing that we did after going remote, because we realized there's a lot more people that have kids, right? Or they got mortgages, they needed to move a little bit out of the city because it's just the cost of living. These are still super talented people. And the benefit that I wasn't even expecting with that was just how much easier I was able to sleep at night when I had fully fledged adults in the seats. And not to put any of the youngins down, but people who have a mortgage, they have kids, they have a family, they're serious about their roles, they appreciate their roles, right?
Yes,
They appreciate consistency in their life. Absolute game changer from a hiring perspective. And that was a hidden benefit of going remote that I'm gonna claim it. I'll claim it. But nah, it just came from making that decision.
that's awesome. And what are the weekly team routines that you put in place to keep people motivated, to keep them engaged, keep them connected? Can you share some of those?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously the typical ones, just getting together on video calls with the entire team. We do that on Mondays and Fridays. And basically we just run around the room. We share, any updates from a leadership level. So all the leaders in our team share their updates. Like it would take forever if every single person was talking on the call, but it's mainly the leaders sharing updates about their teams. Any announcements, we make the announcements, and then, yeah, we just have a bit of an open forum and just have everyone just kind of chat towards the end. We share wins. That's a huge thing about remote culture. Sharing wins. We have a literal channel on Slack called Winning, and it's just going off all day with like, just got this result for a client. We just started with this client. 3 days later, this is the result, like those kind of things. And I think that just pumps the team up because everyone wants to be dropping something into that chat. But the other thing, if anyone out there is remote, look up a software for Slack called Hey Taco. Have you heard of it, Josephine?
No, I know I use Slack, but I haven't heard of
You haven't heard of
Haytarget.
Hey Taco? Do you have a
No.
remote team?
Yes, we do. Yes.
Hey Taco, look into it. Basically, what it is, it's a plugin for Slack that allows you to share like taco emojis with your team. And let's say we're on the same team. If I give you a taco, it goes onto a leaderboard. I know this sounds a bit crazy, right?
No,
At
no. So
first when
it's
they were pitching it to me, I'm
reinforcement.
like, what the heck? Anyway, you share tacos with each other and you can just like basically give people love, right? Through
That's
tacos.
right.
at the end of the month, there's a leaderboard on like who's the leader in terms of tacos received, and you can unlock like different things. Like we do, half a day off, free lunch on us.
I love that. Yes.
I think the team are putting something on there like Jamie to shave his beard, which I haven't done in like 10 years. So I think you need like a lot of tacos to get there. But just little things like that, and it's so fun because it's a bit of fun, and it just creates this culture of wanting to shout people out for their good work.
That's right.
So
Yeah, exactly.
it's a game changer.
I'll have a look at that. And I think that's really important. And it's got to be authentic, it's got to be, I think those systems go a little bit awry when they start to be, people get the bullshit meter in there and they start to think, oh, hang on, everybody's just giving everybody tacos. It doesn't it's not meaningful anymore.
That's
But
right.
if you use it in a meaningful way, I love that.
That's why we have it in a winning chat, right?
Yes.
Because in that chat you can so you can connect it to chats, and we have it in the winning chat. So whenever someone posts in there, they say 3 tacos for John. He just did this result, So
Yeah.
it's tied to a
Tied to
positive
something.
outcome.
I love
But
it.
yeah, it's been an absolute game changer for the remote culture. So yeah, highly recommend.
Yeah, I love that. And because there's a little bit of fun competitiveness as well, which drives motivation, but you're still collaborating together and also that, we often by default give people feedback on what they can improve, but by default we don't think about necessarily rewarding people like that or giving them a thank you or, for every job well done, there'll be five or six you could have done this better. And
Yeah,
that's just our defaults, how our brain thinks. So what those systems do is they force you to kind of really address that bias. So I love that. I love it.
100%.
So your father is involved in the business. Tell me a little bit about that because family systems and business systems can, not always work. So tell me about the dynamic and how it's shaped your business and your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. This one's a good one for me because I always dreamed as a kid of getting into business with my dad. He was always the businessman. Like he was talking to me about tax and accounting and saving and all this kind of thing from since I can remember. He said he,
Lovely.
he said it was some of the first like discussions that we used to have when I was still learning. And I honestly remember it too. Like I remember always, always, always talking about business with my dad.
Right.
And all my life I was like, yeah, one day we're gonna do business together, blah blah blah. And then when DJing started taking off for me, I thought, oh, okay, yeah, no, that's not gonna happen anymore. And I went against the grain, to be honest with you, because I just graduated from uni as a valuer, and I was taking that path, and I got a job at JLL, which is like a huge company, and everything on paper was looking great. And then I decided to pull the pin and go down the DJ route. And obviously at the time, the advice was no, don't do that. That's stupid. That's not long term. Blah blah blah. So yeah, we kind of like I wouldn't say drifted apart, but that dream of getting into business together didn't look like it was going to happen. So yeah, so then what happened was, yeah, Define obviously started taking off, and he was actually retired, but I just needed him, eh? Like I needed his advice for
Yes.
legals. I needed someone who could do the accounting. So I just kind of I brought him back in, and honestly, like what a game changer when you actually make it work. Like to have in the back of your mind to know that such an important part of your business is being taken care of by someone who actually has your best interest and nothing else. There's no malice whatsoever. Like they literally want to see you succeed, and they're taking care of a big part of the business. Wow, like that is just amazing. So as hard as it is with family, sometimes the thing that's kept it alive and the thing that's kept it growing is just how important it has been. You know, there's absolutely no way I want to get involved with doing tax and legals, and my brain just shut.
Exactly.
Honestly, my brain just shuts down when it comes to that kind of conversation. He is a beast at that. Like that's what he loves, and he doesn't have a creative bone in his body. So it's just a good partnership. I think any partnership, whether it's family or not, like I think that's the foundation for it. It should be two people coming together to make something greater, not two people coming together to step on each other's toes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And obviously that's really worked. And you had a really strong relationship before. Has it strengthened that relationship? Has it changed it?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's definitely strengthened it. Like,
Mm.
obviously, one thing is, my mom hasn't been the biggest fan because sometimes dinners become a little bit too businessy, but we just can't help it. Like, we're both two very passionate people, and still to this day, he works just as hard as anyone, harder than anyone else in the team. And he's, finally now starting to take a back seat, get on his boat a little bit more, which I'm very, very grateful for. I'm very proud of him for that. But yeah, up until this point, it's he's been very, very involved. But yeah, I would say it's strengthened it in a sense of he's passed on so much knowledge and so many lessons and so much value to me as his son. And I think that the respect from my side is just next level, like absolute next level. And I see a lot of people that don't have that with their dads. Yeah, I'm very, very grateful for it. Put it that way, I'm very grateful for it.
I love that. And I love that he was talking about tax with you when you were like when you were a kid. I love that. How awesome.
It's
But
funny that now I hate it, but yeah,
exactly. I think that that's yeah, it's lovely to hear that. And isn't it interesting? I think sometimes we look at people in the later stages of their life and we don't value that wisdom. We don't respect that wisdom. And there is a lot of wisdom there and experience. And maybe, yes, maybe technology isn't, their thing, but all of that knowledge and, and all of the history and also just decision making that they've had to go through and the ups and downs they've had to go through. There's so
exactly.
much we can learn. Totally agree.
Just
Totally
having
agree.
someone to be a soundboard too, like I think one thing about him is I'm very much like go 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 like a million miles an hour, and sometimes to my detriment, I probably move too quick, right? And he's this guy that just kind of like brings me down to earth a little bit
Mm,
and just makes me think about it a second time. And sometimes I go against his advice, and that's perfectly fine. But I'll always listen to what he has to say.
right. Yeah.
Always. I'll never just dismiss what he has to say. I'll always
Yeah.
listen to it. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful
Amazing.
setup.
And Jamie, so what are some of the ways? So you're a busy person, you're a CEO, you've got a big team. I mean, obviously, I love that you delegate. I think that's a really nice way of keeping yourself focused on what's important and working on the business. What, just before we go, I'm interested to know your personal hacks. What's your day like? What do you do to help you focus, stay motivated? Deal with the barriers that come your way, whether they're in your mind or in reality. What's your life, a day in the life of you look like that helps you
Yeah.
in the work you do, but also in your personal life?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And to me, really, it's blocking out my time in my calendar. Like, a lot of people have to-do lists, right? And that works really well for them. I still have a to-do list, but anything that's really important, I don't put it on a list somewhere. Like, I put it in my calendar, and I run my life based on my calendar. What I've come to realize is time is the most valuable asset, and it's such a cliche. Everyone says it, but when it actually does click for you that that's the way the world works, it's just insane. So yeah, literally, if it's not in my calendar, like, it doesn't exist. I even tell my wife, like, if there's anything important that we need to do, please put it in the calendar, because that's how I run my life. So yeah, massive. That's been huge. Just blocking out like my morning, so I don't take any meetings in the morning. Look, what I want to say too is, like, that's taken me 6 years or 5 years, I would say. For the last year, I've been doing it like that. But it took me 5 years to be able to get to that. There's no way I could have blocked out my calendar when I was hungry, like trying to chase business, and someone wanted to speak to me at 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. from the US,
Right.
or 9 p.m. from the US to close the deal. I would take that call
Of course.
day in, day out. But yeah, eventually over time, you can start structuring your day like that, and just making business sustainable. I think that's the key. Like, if you can just continue playing the game long enough, that's how you win. And that's the biggest people in my network, the billionaires. I know, speak to billionaires who have billionaire clients, and then it's not like they've had some breakthrough genius Elon Musk idea. No, they've just been in the game. They've gone
Yes.
through it. They've been in there,
That persistence.
persistence, 10 years, 15 years in the game. And how? They've just made it sustainable. They've made it easy to show up every day with things like that.
Yeah. Jamie, I do that too with my calendar. I totally agree. And people often say to me, how do you do everything you do? And it's, for me, it's a game changer as well. And I agree. And I think that absolutely there's periods in the cycle of your business where you get to a point where you can make those decisions, and you can actually say no. And it's also what you need for your health, for your mental health, but also so that you show up like you're saying. So I really love that. So Jamie, before we go, what's next for you?
Yeah, so it's actually a really exciting moment because right after this call, I'm actually going to go and inspect like a premises for Defiant. So yes, we are a remote company. We are completely remote, but this year we are actually going to be building a creative studio. So it's basically going to be like a warehouse conversion. We're going to turn it into a creative space, podcast room,
Fantastic.
cyclorama for photography, and it's just going to be a creative warehouse for us to create in. And that really is the next massive leap for us as an agency. Yeah, we're now 33 staff, which is awesome. We have proper leadership team in place, but yeah, being able to level it up and just offer another thing that just isn't available in the creative performance space. There's definitely creative studios, there's performance marketing companies, but someone who has all of these
That's right.
ingredients under the one roof, it's really going to set us apart. Yeah, very, very exciting. Yeah, really looking forward to that and looking forward to what we can create in there.
Well, fantastic, Jamie. I wish you all the best, and maybe we'll have another conversation, and you can show us the premises at
Well,
some point. I'd love that.
maybe we'll have to fly you down to Sydney and do a podcast when this is all set.
Exactly. I would love that. I would love that for sure. And maybe another conversation we could definitely have is about, we haven't really spoken about the leadership team and how that comes together for you. So that could be another conversation as well.
Part two. Sounds good.
Thank you so much, Jamie. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for the conversation.
Thanks, Josephine. Thanks for having me.